as we know, the Vinaya, there are 227 rules. But actually, there are thousands and thousands. Some even mention, if you work out the permutations, it may be millions of sub-rules. So definitely these are not in the areas that we profess to be expert in. So, which is why we wanted to have this session, all right? So the whole idea behind this is that we have a better understanding so we can better support the Sangha. And this comes back to the motto of our center, Sila Samadhi Panya. Okay? So in fact, we go back a bit more. Today's session is more on Dana and Sila. Okay? We are talking about Dana and Sila. The Sila is the Bhikkhu Sila. Okay? The Bhikkhu Vinaya. Alright? So, without, and obviously, that's the whole foundation for the teaching. Okay? And for us to progress on the path. That's why it's so important. Right? Dana, Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Alright? So, so with the proper Sila, right, the Bhikkhu can help to preserve the pure Dhamma. Right? So that's the whole purpose.
Customary, when we have a Dhamma discussion or a Dhamma talk, that we first pay homage to the Buddha. Please follow me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Now I have been asked to answer questions about the Vinaya, so I haven't prepared a Dhamma talk as such. I've prepared a little introduction, and then we just go into questions being asked, and I answer. I received the questions beforehand. Then at the end of each section, if I remember, I will ask the audience if there are any other questions. All right? And if I forget, please remind me. Or Madam Yi, where are you? And you please remind me, right? Because there might be supplementary questions. And I ask you, please, now you have the opportunity to make objections about the Vinaya, you have the opportunity to make objections about the Bhikkhu's behavior, you have the opportunity to ask all sorts of rude questions, right? You have the opportunity today, and so please don't hesitate if there's any doubt about anything, right? Because we don't get upset. If you say it in a rude way, maybe we will get upset, but if there's doubt, get it clarified, right? Now there's the opportunity. My usual procedure is that you do a lot of reading. That is so that you get the Dhamma through the eyes, through the ears as well. So, please read this. This is from the Samanyapara Sutta, which is the second sutta in the Digha Nikaya, where there's a king who goes and asks the Buddha about the practical benefits of becoming a bhikkhu. And then the Buddha explains two benefits, and about a slave, one of the king's slaves can become a bhikkhu, and then the king will offer food to the slave, and then the second one is a layman may become a bhikkhu, and the king will offer requisites to the layman, and then the third explanation the Buddha gives, he begins by explaining the sasana, and this is the beginning of his explanation of the Buddha sasana. Okay? So please, everybody, please read aloud. Now here, the Patimokkha restraint by the Patimokkha restraint, that refers to the 227 rules, plus many hundreds, maybe thousands of rules which are in texts connected with the Patimokkha. Possessed conduct and resort. Conduct has to do with how he behaves with in the Sangha and how he behaves with the lay people. Resort is where he goes to get his requisites. Because part of his Patimokkha restraint is that he has to depend on requisites offered by the laity. And then, number 3, in the slightest fault seeing fearsomeness, this means that he tries to avoid faults of a very, very small nature, right? And that is not only in his vinaya, it is in all his conduct. Because when he ordains, his ordination means that he undertakes the training, okay? Then we have the Buddha's explanation of that relationship between the resort of the bhikkhu and between the resort of the bhikkhu and the bhikkhu, or the sangha and the laity. Okay? This requires no explanation, perhaps. Then we have here the Buddha's explanation of how this relationship may manifest. This is what the bhikkhus chant usually after dana has been given. Right? So please just recite the first 2 sentences. Right, this is a special occasion, the lay people chanting this, because usually it's the bhikkhus who chant it. Okay? So, now here, right, translation. Abhi is short for abhinhan, which means frequent, continuous, or repeatedly. Vadana is a form of vandana. Right, for example, when you go down 3 times, that's called vandana. So that's homage or paying respect. Silisa is right? Sila can mean morality, but it can also mean one's habit or one's disposition, right? So abhivadana silisa niccam buddha pachayano means for one of a continuously respectful disposition, right? It means one's we can say one's psychological attitude, right? And then DHPA is the commentary to the Dhammapada, because this is from the Dhammapada, right? So the commentary to the Dhammapada explains that this is a continuously respectful disposition means it's a person who is always intent on paying respect and offering services. Okay, then we go to the next part. Niccam is constantly, permanently, always. Buddha is an elder or a venerable. Apachayino is again homage or paying respect. So that's for one, always paying respect to the elder, right? The elder is use it as an adjective, right? That means that comes in the commentary, explains it, right? Always paying respect to those gone forth and those with a higher ordination. Why? Because they've given up the low life. right? Your life in the Buddha's Dhamma is the low life, right? And the Samanera's life is a higher life, and the Bhikkhu's life is the highest, okay? And so, then we have the second part of the stanza. Chattaru means four, Dhamma means things, Vatanti means increase. And then Ayu means life, Vanno, all right? Life means lifespan. Vanno means beauty, Sukhang means happiness, and Balang means strength. So, we have the whole stanza. Please read the whole stanza in English. Okay, so this is a Buddha's description of the relationship between the laity and the Sangha. Then, this relationship can be beneficial for the continuation of the sasana. This relationship can also be detrimental to the continuation of the sasana, right? Because there was a bhikkhu called Kimila who asked the Buddha, what is the cause, what is the reason why the sasana may last long, it may not last long? And the Buddha gave this answer. Right, now the Buddha doesn't exist anymore. The human being, the Buddha doesn't exist, so the Buddha that we have is represented by Buddha rupas, by Bodhi trees, by footprints, by pagodas and things like that. So, when the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, male and female disciples, live without respect and deference towards the teacher, that means that they do not behave in a respectful manner in the presence of a Buddha rupa, in the presence of a Bodhi tree, in the presence of a pagoda, etc. Right? Then, without respect and without deference towards the Dhamma, that is, for example, they don't study the Dhamma, they criticize the Dhamma. For example, when they write Pali words, they don't spell it properly because it's too troublesome, they can't be bothered to spell it properly according to the Pali. That's also disrespect towards the Dhamma. They leave Dhamma books on the floor, that's disrespect towards the Dhamma. You can yourself think of other examples, right? So that is, it can be something more serious, it can also be small things like remembering to treat a Dhamma book with respect, etc. Then we have the without respect and without deference towards the Sangha. That's what we're going to discuss very much today. And so I won't go into it now. Then there's without respect and without deference towards the training, that is the training of Sila, Samadhi and Panya, right? Without respect and without deference towards the training for bhikkhus is that they don't try to keep the Patimokkha Samvara Sila, Anumatesu Vajesu Bhaida Savino. They are not afraid of the slightest fault, right? You quoted it just now, all right? Right? So that is without respect and deference towards the training, without deference and respect towards Samadhi. They don't develop jhana in order to practice vipassana, and without deference and respect towards the Panya training, they don't practice vipassana, They don't study the texts. Then there's the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis and male and female disciples without respect and deference towards each other. That's what we're going to discuss today, so I won't go into it any further, right? So these are the causes why the Saddhamma does not last long, right? And then the Buddha gives how they last long. I won't ask you to read it, right? But that is just the opposite, right? So that they live with respect and deference towards the teacher, towards the Dhamma, towards the Sangha, towards the training, towards each other. Then the Saddhamma will last long. Then I'll give an example of how, for example, how the Buddha describes lay people whom the bhikkhu should not associate with, because they are not respectful towards the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Right? This is a sutta where the Buddha explains that. Please read. Right? So this is, for example, when the bhikkhu is in the village for Pindapata, or he's in the village for some other reason, or he should not approach families with these 9 things. It would also work the other way around. If people of such family or such behavior approach the bhikkhu, he should not encourage any association with them. He should try to avoid them. Please read. Okay? Why does the Buddha say a bhikkhu should not approach such people? Because it's harmful to himself. Such people who are not respectful towards the bhikkhu, who do not have a friendly disposition, they can cause shock or surprise in the bhikkhu, right? Oh, how can they do like this? And they can make the bhikkhu, his faith can become disturbed, right? Because, oh, these people, how can they do like this? How can they behave like this? And so, they are not suitable for the bhikkhu to associate with, because their behavior is contrary to the Dhamma. Right now you don't go to hell because you don't ask questions, because you can't go to hell for something you haven't done. But the thing is that when you don't ask questions, then you don't know what is good, then you don't know what is wholesome, what is unwholesome, what is blameful, what is blameless, etc. And then you do all the things that you shouldn't do, and then because of that you go to hell. Okay? And so, in here. Okay, now why have I asked you to read that? Very clever, because usually the bhikkhu asks the lay people, please ask, and nobody asks, right? This is the result you get from not asking questions, okay? So, when I say any questions, if you have any questions, ask them, right? Because otherwise you will be stupid in this life, and you will be stupid if you will become reborn in a future life, you may be stupid also. Okay. No. Okay, now question.
Thank you, Bhante. Yeah, that's why we have a lot of questions here. Hopefully we will not be stupid. Okay. Okay, we gathered many questions from the members and we categorized it into a big groups. Okay, the first group is for offering of the food requisite. First question, why does some fruit have to be made kapiya? What is the procedure, Bhante?
Okay, why does some fruit have to be made kapiya? Once upon a time in the Buddha's time, people saw bhikkhus eating fruit that had seeds in it. Right? That means fruit that had seeds that could grow, or other vegetables that had, I'm not a farmer, so I don't really know, but there are also other things apart from seeds, right? Sometimes there are twigs that can grow and leaves that can grow, right? So that it's things, vegetation that could grow, and they saw the bhikkhus eating that. And then they believed that plants had one faculty life, right? So they believe that the plants had life. There are even people today who believe it. There are even scientists who believe that plants have life. So when they saw the bhikkhus eating those plants, then they got very upset because they thought that the bhikkhus are killing one faculty life. And then this reached the Buddha, and it's no good for the lay people to think that the bhikkhus are killing one faculty life. So the Buddha laid down a procedure whereby the layperson performs an act by which the layperson says to the bhikkhu, it's all right, you can eat that seed or whatever else it is which can grow, I won't get upset because I've damaged it myself, right? So that is the story behind it. Then we have the procedure. Okay? So, there are 5 ways in which the layperson can damage the fruit before offering it to the bhikkhu. Right? Number 1, damage it with fire. Right? That might be to pass it through fire, and in a way we can also say just cooking it is also damaging it, right? Because cooked seeds cannot grow. Then we have damage it with a knife, and that means we can use a knife or another utensil, we can use a fork also or whatever, and break or puncture the flesh. And number 3, damage it with a fingernail. Sometimes you offer maybe on Pintabata, you don't have a knife or anything like that, then you can just do it with your fingernail. And then there are of course seedless fruits. In the modern day we have seedless grapes. Bananas is another example, but sometimes even bananas have seeds. And then number 5, the seeds you can remove the seeds from, I don't know why I wrote tomato there. Sorry, that's wrong, right? Mango, right? Mango, you can offer the mango, right? You remove, you cut the flesh from the seed, and so you offer it without the seed. Papaya, also usually people remove the seed. Apple, very often they cut the seed out, and pear, etc. Right? And some say you can do it before, you can do it at home before offering it to the bhikkhu. But this is a vinaya karma. Right? It's a procedure laid down by the Buddha in the Vinaya. So there needs to be a bhikkhu there when you do it. Right? That is the proper procedure, because if we say you can do it at home, then you can also just leave the robe at home and go to the bhikkhu and say, I offer you the robe that is in my house. Right? It doesn't work. The bhikkhu needs to be there because it's a Vinaya karma. Right? So you come with the fruit, and then the bhikkhu, before you, sometimes people give the fruit to the bhikkhu and then the bhikkhu notices. Sometimes they do it before giving it to the bhikkhu, and then the bhikkhu just says, Kapyan karohi, right? And that means, make this allowable. And then the layperson should damage it, right? In this situation, it's damaging it with some utensil or with a fingernail, and then the layperson says, Kapyan bante, right? And that means, this is allowable, Venerable Sir. Meaning, I will not get upset if you eat it because I've damaged it myself, and so everything is all right. Okay? Any questions?
Pertaining to this, just a few questions. Number one, since it only involves cutting the flesh or poking the flesh, for example, if I have a tomato, I cut it, I slice it up, I've already sliced through the flesh. Why is there still a need to go through the kapyan?
Because it's a vinaya karma that needs to be performed in the presence of a bhikkhu.
I see. So, okay. And then the next question is, there are some seeds which are edible. That is, so you need to kapyan the meat. You need to make the seeds allowable before the bhikkhu can eat. So, but in some cases, the seeds can be stored for a few days. So
They can be what?
They can be kept for a few days, like in the fridge, and offered again the following day. So do I need to do kapyan once, or do I have to do kapyan every day?
Very often the best thing to do is to allow no doubt to arise. And so you just do it every day, then the bhikkhu is comfortable. Right? Then another thing, there's also another procedure some bhikkhus follow. The Pavasara, for example, follows it. That it's just a symbolic act, that you just sort of run the knife, the tip of the knife over the fruit without actually puncturing it. That's also allowable. That's in the commentaries of the rule. And then I forgot to mention that, for example, in a big monastery where there are many monks, and maybe people offer a huge basket full of mangoes, right? Then it would be a little bit troublesome if they had to do kapyan karohi for 500 mangoes. And so the Buddha says that as long as all the mangoes are touching each other, then you just need to do one, and then they are all covered, right? Any objections to this procedure?
Does it apply to a mango touching some grapes whatsoever?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Bante, in this not wrong adherence to rights and ritual?
Right, Siddhabhata Paramasa, right? You know what Siddhabhata Paramasa is? It is something that disappears when you become a Sotapanna. Wrong adherence to rite and ritual, right? Means it's a wrong thinking, right? What is Siddhabhata Paramasa? Siddhabhata Paramasa means thinking that you can attain Nibbana or you can become purified by chanting something 1,000,000 times or wearing paint on your forehead or cutting a piece off your ear or... Right? This Siddhabhata Paramasa does not refer to any rules and rites or rituals. Siddhabhata Paramasa refers to rules and rituals that one thinks are necessary for purification, for attaining heaven or whatever it is one thinks it is. That is Siddhabhata Paramasa. Doing kapyan karohi is not Siddhabhata Paramasa, because the Buddha doesn't say that you can attain Nibbana by making fruit allowable, right? It has to do with removing any doubt from the lay people when they offer. We have many rules, rites in the Buddha laid down many, many rights for the bhikkhus to follow and the lay people to follow. They are not Silabbata Paramas, right? For example, when you pay respect to the Buddha Rupa 3 times, that's a right, right? But you don't think that you're going to go attain Nibbana by doing that. That's just paying respect to the Buddha. There are all sorts of things that we do that are kusala rights. They are not Silabbata Paramas. They are not based on wrong view. They are not a wrong belief in the efficacy of those rights, right? So must not think that doing this procedure is Silabbata Paramasa. Then we have become very confused. Okay.
Okay.
Then next question.
Bhante, second question. Some traditions allow the offering of food by lifting the entire table, but others must offer individually unless the table is light enough for one man to lift it. Why there is a difference, and what should be the right way?
The business of lifting the entire table is just one of those many ways in which things change over the centuries or maybe over the decades. Right? People want to do it because then the bhikkhu goes to the house and the whole family lifts the table, and then they're all very happy because they're all offering together, and it's all very nice, it's all very sweet, right? But it's not allowable. It's the Buddha laid down rules about how to offer food, and what one offers must be an average person, not a very, it must not require great strength. Just an average person of an average build must be able to lift it with ease, right? Majjhima Purisa, right? Average person must be able to lift it with ease, right? So the table, if the table is very light and the food is very light and an average person can lift it with ease, okay, but for example this table, an average person cannot lift with ease. And so it's not allowable to do it like that. One needs then to offer each item one by one, right? Another reason why people want to offer the whole table is to save time, right? Because very often when they're giving dana, they want to get it over with as quickly as possible. Also, sometimes they don't want to trouble the bhikkhu, right? So they have kusala intention, they don't want to trouble the bhikkhu, but the bhikkhu is very happy to follow the vinaya. And I should also mention here that when one offers, one needs to be within hatapasa, right? It means that the bhikkhu must be able to, he must be able to touch your nose, right? Doesn't mean he's going to touch your nose or he should touch your nose, but he must be able to touch your nose with ease, right? Just like that. And very often the bhikkhu is not sure, is this person too far, right? Because if you're too far and you offer, then this food is not allowable. So come up close. Many people, because they want to, right, their intention is to be respectful, and so, right? And that's all very good, right? But it's just, come up close, then the bhikkhu has no doubt at all, right? And it's not too close, but just close enough so that you can offer just with ease. And also when you offer, right? Some people just hold it like this. That's not offering, because then the bhikkhu has to take it, right? When you offer like this, so that the bhikkhu receives it. Okay? So, and then, when you offer, you must let go. Right? Right? Because if it's not let go, then it's not an offering, right? And so,
Okay.
and there's sometimes people offer a tray with many things and it's very heavy. That's not a suitable way, right? And so, better you bring it in on the tray and then you put the tray down. You must not put the tray on the table, because the bhikkhu touches the table. And if you put unoffered food on the table and the bhikkhu touches it, then there may be the perception he's accepted it, and then it's unallowable. So you put it on the floor and then you offer one by one. Okay? Any questions about that?
We have to offer with our hands, or because in some tradition they use offering cloth?
That is, that is, as far as I understand, that's in the Thai tradition when a woman offers to a bhikkhu. And as far as I can see, that's perfectly all right. They've added this rule into the Thai sasana with the intention that it should prevent. That's a very good question, because I forgot to mention something, because this is a problem. Very often women offer and they touch the bhikkhu. Right? They offer like this, and the bhikkhu can't take it without touching the woman. Right? And right, he takes it and he doesn't realize, and then he's touched her. And it's not good. Must not do that. Must take care not to make it difficult for the bhikkhu to touch you. Right? Because, for example, before when I was here, then there was then the food is passed to a layperson who passes it to the next bhikkhu, and there was always a woman, and she would touch me every single time, right? Because I would take the food and then give it to her, and then she would touch me, right? And in the end, what am I going to do, right? Then I said to Usadhokan, I need a man here, right? And everybody thinks I'm being very troublesome, they get angry with me, right? But it's because the woman should be very careful not to touch the bhikkhu, okay? Any other questions? Okay, next question.
Yeah. Question 3. For some traditions...
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
go on.
For some traditions, once the food is offered and accepted by a bhikkhu, the layperson should not touch it anymore. If the plate containing the food is accidentally touched by a layperson, then it has to be re-offered. Whereas for others, like Pakao tradition, it is okay for a layperson to handle the plates, etc., as long as it has been offered and accepted. What is the right practice?
Right, so this question has to do with you offer some food, it's accepted by the bhikkhu, and then you touch it or you move it or whatever. And some traditions say that if you touch it or remove it or move it, then it has to be re-offered. Now, this idea is probably motivated by the intention that everything should be very good and very pure. But there is nothing in the text that says this. So that's why some traditions they don't have this. Some traditions they have this, but it's not mentioned anywhere in the text. But their intention is maybe to keep everything pure. But if, for example, a bhikkhu, he's taken some food and then he gives it to the layperson to take away, that food has to be re-offered because the bhikkhu has given it up, right? But that's not your duty, that is the bhikkhu's duty. So that if he wants some of it, then he can say, please offer it again. Okay, any questions? I think you can leave the microphone with this lady.
Yeah. Sorry, but when the bhikkhu has given up something, he cannot give up with the intention to have it re-offered, can he?
No. This is just normal everyday that the bhikkhu takes, right here in this case, he takes food, puts into his bowl, and he doesn't want any more, and then he just gives it to the layperson, and then they take it out, and then they have their luncheon party at the back.
Yes, right? But can the bhikkhu ask for the food to be re-offered?
It is because in this environment, there are kapiyas. Those kapiyas have said, anything you require, Bhante, please ask me. Right? Then, for example, very often, or usually every day, when I sit down, I look at the table and I decide, okay, I'm going to eat that, and that. Because I have digestive problems, and then I choose which is most suitable. Okay? And then sometimes I miscalculate, because sometimes I see, oh, today there's no fish. There's fish. Right? Then I receive, oh, it's not fish. Then I've already let the chicken go. It's happened once. It hasn't happened many times. Right? Then I've already let the chicken go. And I say, then I won't have I need some chicken. Okay, please, can I have the chicken back? right? And so that is the procedure. Any other questions? Okay, next question.
Okay. Is it wrong to insist in making an offer of food when the bhikkhu has turned down further food offerings? What's the reason?
Yes, it is wrong. Because the Buddha laid down a rule where if a bhikkhu is offered food, right, if a bhikkhu is eating, right, he's begun eating and he's in the process of eating, and he's offered food and he refuses, then he can't accept any more food that day. This is a little bit inconvenient if it happens at breakfast, because then he can't accept lunch. And that's why one should not do it, right? One should not return and say, but Pandey, please take some more. So this is not proper, because sometimes I've experienced it, and the bhikkhu, as a natural reaction, just say, no, and then, oh my God, no, I can't offer you, no, I can't accept any lunch, right? Then problem. And so, if one wants to offer some more, one should just, some people do it here, right? Then one just offer it without any comment, right? Then if the bhikkhu wants any more, he can help himself, right? Is that clear? Any questions? No?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Is it better to offer food, for example, meat dishes, veggie, fruits, desserts, etc., cut out into bite-sized pieces?
Right, this is whether it's better to offer food in pieces that the bhikkhu can just take into his mouth. Yes, it is better, because bhikkhu is not allowed to bite bread, for example. He's not allowed to bite things that are made of corn and wheat and things like that. The Buddha makes allowances so that if it's a cake, he can bite it. If it's a fruit, he can bite it. And also if it's a cake made of wheat, he can bite it. But if it's bread, he shouldn't bite it. The Buddha makes allowances, but it just doesn't look nice. And so even though many allowances the Buddha makes for bhikkhus, the bhikkhus don't make use of them. So, and this is not just in the Buddhasasana, also in Europe, for example, polite people don't bite a fruit, right? They use a fruit knife and cut a piece off, right? And so, for example, if very often, not very often, sometimes we are offered pizza, it's just a big piece like that, right? The bhikkhu should not take too big a mouthful, right? Then he's eating with his fingers. How is he going to break a piece of the pizza? I can tell you, it's very difficult, right? So it's better to cut the pizza into, it mustn't be too small either, just a normal bite size, right? And the same with fruit, bread, right? If you offer a piece of bread like that, and the bhikkhu has to break it, that's usually not difficult. But sometimes there's something in between, like a sandwich, then he breaks it, and then the whole thing falls apart. And these custard tarts, these Portuguese custard tarts, right? Then they offer, and you try to break one of those custard tarts in two, then it's all completely broken and there's no tart left, right? Because it's, right? And so you just cut it into a normal bite size, not too small, not too big. Any questions?
So we go to the next questions.
Okay.
If the lay devotee would like to check what food would be appropriate to be offered to a particular bhikkhu, what would be the skillful and allowable way to ask the bhikkhu?
Right, so this is someone who wants to offer food that is particularly suitable to a certain bhikkhu. How should they do it? They just use plain language, right? Just ordinary language. You can just say, Ante, I would like to offer you anything that is particularly suitable. Is there anything that is especially suitable for you that you could require? Or another way to ask is there anything that's unsuitable for you? Right? That's another way. Very, very seldom do people do that. I think I've experienced it once in 16 years as a monk. Right? And people never ask that. And so very often the bhikkhu gets unsuitable food, the people have good intention, they want to offer suitable food, they think it's okay, but it isn't. And the bhikkhu doesn't say anything, and so that is a good thing to do, especially some bhikkhus are sick, and then you just ask that. Must never ask the kapiyas. The kapiyas have no idea what's going on. Right? Many people ask the kapiyas, but I have personal experience that the kapiyas tell the people something that has nothing to do with, right? For example, I was in a place where I was offered 2 types of bread, and one type of bread was suitable, one type was unsuitable, and the suitable one I ate every day. I ate all of it, and I ate none of the unsuitable. And then after 2 days, the dayakas asked the kapiya, which one does he eat? And then they told him he eats the unsuitable one. Right? And then the next day I got only the unsuitable one. Right? Never ask the kapiyas. They have no idea. You just ask the bhikkhu straight, as it's perfectly allowable. There's nothing unallowable about it. Usually if a bhikkhu is healthy, he will say, no, there's nothing I require, because the bhikkhu does not choose things that he likes. Right? I want chocolate cake or whatever. He asks for things that are suitable, and if he's healthy, then usually he doesn't have a problem, and he may say, no, I'm fine with everything. All right? Any questions? Yes?
I've tried, I've been told by a bhikkhu, I don't know whether it's correct, but I've been told by a bhikkhu that they cannot ask for food. As in, even if I ask them what food is suitable, what food would you like to have? And they say, oh, I cannot tell you what food I want. It is an offense.
Okay. Then,
is that right?
Maybe it's right. I am not aware that it's right. This I have not experienced. Nobody has ever told me that you... A bhikkhu who's sick can ask for special food without an invitation from the dayaka. But it's recommended that he doesn't. Right? So, and this is in the Vinaya. It says that if a bhikkhu should ask for food without an invitation and he's not sick, there's an offense. Right? This means that if he asks for food and there is an invitation, then there's not an offense. He can ask his family, for example, without an invitation. And so that is explained in the commentary to the Sakyas. Right? This is one of the 75 training rules. And there's nothing that says you can't.
So just to clarify, so a bhikkhu can ask if he's being asked. He can say if he's being asked.
Yes.
Thank you.
And if he's sick, he also can ask without an invitation, but it's just recommended that he doesn't.
Bhante, can I just clarify on this? I was told that it depends on how the lay person asks. If the lay person asks, what food would you like to eat, then it's not so appropriate. But if you say what is suitable, like what Bhante says, then it is fine for the bhikkhu to explain what is suitable and not.
Yes, exactly, because that's the distinction I made before. That sometimes, for example, a bhikkhu goes home, then his mother, what do you want of your favorite food? Right? This is not a suitable question, because that is. The bhikkhu does not ask for things that he thinks are delicious just for that. Right? He asks for things that are suitable.
Okay, next questions, Bhante. What is the right way to extend an invitation to the bhikkhu or sangha for house dana?
What is the right way to extend an invitation to the bhikkhu or sangha for house dana? I don't remember, because all my Vinaya notes are in Pa'auk. But I'm pretty sure that one must not say which food one is going to offer. That one should just say, please, I should like to invite the Venerable One for house dana. Finish. Not say, I want to invite you to have Indian curry or something. Should not say the food. Just say for house dana and then specify the time. I'm 99.9% sure that that's correct. I also asked a senior monk yesterday and he also couldn't remember. Why? Because in Pa'auk we never get any invitation, right? We're not supposed to. And then we learn it, and then in this case maybe 10 years later somebody asks her about it and we've completely forgotten. What was it? What was the rule? Because we don't have that experience anymore. All right?
Okay. Would the same rule apply if the offering of food is to be done at the PMC center? Can the type of food be mentioned? For example, tomorrow I would like to offer durians to Bhante.
Tomorrow I would like to offer would the same rules apply in a meditation center like here? Tomorrow, for example, tomorrow I would like to offer durians to Bhante. That is not an invitation, that is just a statement. Right? So that's not a problem. You can say whatever you like. Okay?
Any
Clear?
questions?
Tomorrow I would like to offer durian to Bhante is not a question, that's a statement. Okay?
The next question. Are bhikkhus allowed to again accept food that has been accepted and relinquished previously? For example, for 7 days medicine, bhikkhus have to relinquish after 7 days. Can they be offered again to the same bhikkhus or to the other bhikkhus?
This is a little bit wrong, an analysis. Right? Are they allowed to again accept food that's been accepted and relinquished previously? For example, 7 days medicine. Bhikkhus have to relinquish after 7 days. No, they don't have to relinquish after 7 days. 7 days medicine. If the bhikkhu keeps it for longer than 7 days, he has to relinquish it in a vinaya karma. And then, meaning he has to give it up to another bhikkhu, and then that bhikkhu can give it back to him and then he can use it for external purposes. For example, if he has some oil and he's kept it by mistake more than 7 days, then he has to give it up to another bhikkhu, he has to confess, and then the other bhikkhu returns it to him and then he can use it for external purposes. But if he, before the 7 days, he can also throw it away, right? Because maybe he's sitting in the forest and there is no other bhikkhu. Then he can just throw it away, and then maybe next time he meets a bhikkhu, then he can confess that he kept 7-day medicine beyond 7 days. But the proper procedure is to not keep it longer than 7 days, because you do that, you have an offense against the Vinaya. And it's not actually 7 days, it's actually 8 days, because the Buddha says 7 arunugamanas, which means 7 breaks of dawn, which is 7 nights. So if you receive it on Monday, it's still allowable next Monday, because that's 7 nights. But Tuesday morning, it becomes unallowable. And so what you do, if you have too much, is that you get rid of it before the end of the 8th day, before the 8th night, before the end of the 8th night, right? And then when you give it up, you must give it up without the intention of getting it back. But some kapyas, some lay people understand the Vinaya well enough so that they see he's got too much, he's had something left over, and then they offer it the next day. Right? That's perfectly allowable if the bhikkhu has given it up without that arrangement, right? Because you can't arrange, now when I give this up, please give it back to me the next day. No, that's not proper. When he gives it up, he gives it up. If the lay person then offers it the next day, that's perfectly allowable. And that's why some bhikkhus ask the lay people, please don't give too much, right? So that you may want to offer a big jar of honey, right? But the bhikkhu can't eat in 7 days or 8 days. So the bhikkhu says, please give it to the kapya. And then the kapya will put some of it into a smaller jar, and then the bhikkhu, and then when that jar is finished, then take some more from the big jar, and that way all the honey is disposed of in an allowable way. Is that clear? Okay.
Bhante, sorry, just one clarification on the 7 nights thing. Because on this point, I seem to have heard different interpretations. Some people take it to be less than 7, some people take it to be less than or equals to 7, which means 8, like what Bhante says. So where can we find this?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
If they take it to be less
I
than 7,
didn't predict this problem, but I can find it in the Pali. It would take too long now, right? But it's in the Pali that the Buddha says. I think he says it's unallowable after the 8th Arunugamana, something like that, right? And I can show you that because when I was a newly ordained bhikkhu, I was told 7 days, and then one day I looked at the a senior monk showed me the Pali, and he said it's not 7 days, it's 7 nights, and it's actually 8 days. And then he showed me the Pali, and then I copied it down, and I sent it to the Pavasada, and I asked him, is this correct? And the Pavasada said, yes, it's correct. So, people say 7 days, sometimes they mean 7 nights, right? But it's actually, I asked the Sadhu, is it 8 days? And he refused to say yes, because the Buddha doesn't say 8 days, right? And so it's direct in the Pali.
Does the same apply to like breaking wasa? Is it the same? You cannot be.
No. That's different. That is 7 days.
So if you are off on Monday, you have to be back by Sunday.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So, Bhante, the 7 days medicine, does it covers like supplements, vitamin C's? For
No.
bhikkhus?
No, there are 2 types of. Actually, it's not 7 days medicine, right? I'm just using the language of the question. It's actually translated as a tonic. It's something that the Buddha allows the bhikkhus to take if they feel weak or unwell or something like that, right? So 7 days medicine is honey, sugar, butter, ghee, and oil, which a bhikkhu can keep for, now I'm using the wrong language, right, but let's just say 7 days medicine to keep it easy, which you can keep for 7 days. But then vitamin tablets is called Yava Jivaka. It means he can keep it for the rest of his life. He can keep it as long as he likes. As long as it doesn't contain butter, ghee, sugar, honey, or oil, right? Then you can keep it. So your regular vitamin tablet doesn't have any of those things. Sometimes they have sugar, but nowadays most of them have artificial sugar in it, and so you can keep it for life. Ginseng, for example, he can keep for life. All these different types of medicine, but he has to check the ingredients. Is that all right? Okay.
Okay, Bhante, next questions.
Okay, so that's the last question about offering of food.
Yes.
Are there any other questions about offering of food?
Sorry.
Offering of food.
There's one thing I don't understand, because in some traditions, tea and coffee are allowable in the afternoon, but in Pao tradition, tea is not allowable in the afternoon. So can Bhante
Actually, it's not just Pao. I think it's in Myanmar there are also some who don't allow it. It's because the Buddha allows for refreshment. The Buddha allows butter, ghee, sugar, honey, and oil, or fresh fruit juice, or medicine. Right? That's what the bhikkhu can take at afternoon. Now, coffee, is that medicine?
No.
Is it fresh fruit juice? Is it butter, sugar, honey, ghee, or oil? No. Coffee is, when people invite, say, come around for a cup of coffee, why do they drink coffee?
Enjoy.
To stay awake.
What?
To stay awake.
If you come around for a coffee morning, right? Why do people drink coffee? Right? Coffee is a big, huge business. You want to be stupid, then don't answer my question. Right? Why do people drink coffee? Right? There are coffee shops with all sorts of types of coffee, and this type of coffee, and Irish coffee, and cappuccino, and cafe au lait, and blah, 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 blah. Why do the people drink that?
The caffeine is addictive.
Now just answer plain English, plain language. No, it's not to keep awake. Please don't be silly. Come on then. You must remember, bhikkhus have been lay people, right? I used to drink a lot of coffee when I was a lay person. Why? Why do they become addicted? No, come on, the mind. What?
Enjoy.
Right, you go into the meditation center and then you start thinking all sorts of complicated things. Plain English. Because they like it. Right? For pleasure. Right? It's for pleasure. Right? In England, people drink tea in the morning. Many times they drink tea in the afternoon for pleasure. Right? That's why you can go into shops in England, right? There are thousands of types of tea and thousands of types of coffee and all sorts of, because it's a sensual pleasure. Right? It's not medicinal at all. It's got nothing to do with medicine. There's no doctor in the world who prescribes coffee, right? Or tea, right? Chinese tea maybe, right? Then you've got teas that are medicinal, but plain coffee and tea are not medicinal. It's a sensual pleasure. And that is why there are traditions that say bhikkhu cannot drink coffee and tea in the afternoon. Is that okay? Any other questions? There was a question there.
Thank you, Bhante. Bhante, I want to ask this question is more on is it a wrong behavior? Okay, direct experience the last time that I offered, is it a wrong behavior to offer or to dana? The last time I offer you apricot seed, but I asked you to help me to offer, give it to Bhante, another Bhante. Is it a wrong act? I'd like to check.
Why would that be a wrong act?
I don't know, because you're not supposed to ask a bhikkhu to do something or to do a favor.
No, you're doing it for... No, you can ask a bhikkhu to help you with something that's for the Sangha or for the Dhamma, right? So, for example, Mr. Teo here has asked me to answer questions about the Vinaya today, right? And that's all right.
Okay.
Lay people can ask the bhikkhu to help with publishing books. And so it's for the benefit. You can even ask a bhikkhu to carry something for you to the monastery for a certain bhikkhu. That's all perfectly allowable. But you can't ask a bhikkhu to please give me that box, right? You're in the car, please give me the bag on the back seat. That is improper. But if it's for the Sangha or for the Sasana or something like that, then it's allowable.
Thank you.
Any other questions? There's one at the back.
Bhante, I'd just like to clarify, because I've been told that Marmite is categorized under the lifetime allowance. Just like to clarify whether it is, because it doesn't seem to fall under oil, sugar and all that.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Marmite.
Marmite, sorry. You mean whether it's allowable in the afternoon?
As one of the 7-day...
It's not butter, ghee, sugar, honey or oil.
Yeah, which is why I was confused, because I've been told that it is.
Yes, but there are traditions where they've added to the Buddha's allowances, and there are traditions that don't add to the Buddha's allowances.
So it's not.
Because mama is made of yeast, right?
Yeah.
And that's not one of the things that's allowable. In the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, the Buddha says that one of the ways in which the Sangha would prosper is that they don't remove any rules, or do away with any rules, or ignore any rules, and they don't add any new rules. And so, our tradition, we don't allow Marmite except in the allowable time during Kala.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Then the next category is offering of requisites in general.
Okay. This is the question. What is a pavarana? Why is it necessary to extend an invitation to a bhikkhu?
Okay. What is a pavarana? Why is it necessary to extend an invitation to a bhikkhu? It's not necessary to extend an invitation to a bhikkhu. It's not necessary to keep sila. It's not necessary to practice samadhi. It's not necessary to practice panya. It's not necessary to give dana. That is completely your decision. Right? Nobody tells you must do these things. That is entirely up to you what you want to do. Okay? But people who want to make offerings to the Sangha and some people who want to make offerings to the Sangha don't have so much time to go to the monastery and offer it. They don't have time to go and find the things, so they want to make their life a little bit easier for themselves and yet make merit. There was a man in the Buddha's time called Mendaka who was very rich. I think they said he was a financier or a banker. Right? He's very busy. Then he asked the Buddha, right, I want to make merit, but I'm a big businessman, I don't have time. Can't I leave some money with somebody and then they can get the thing for the bhikkhu? And the Buddha said, yes, I will discuss this rule later. Right? And in that case, the person who keeps the money for the bhikkhu then gives a pavarana and says, Bhante, if there's anything you need, please ask. That's one case. Then there's another case where the layperson wants to offer and they want to make sure that what they offer is what the bhikkhu needs. Because maybe 95% of what bhikkhus receive, they don't need. Right? But this is not a problem. The Buddha has never said that you shouldn't offer just because of that, because it is, the dana is for the layperson's benefit. So this is not the problem. The problem is that some people, they would like to make absolutely sure that it's something the bhikkhu needs. And so they want the bhikkhu to get exactly what he wants. But a bhikkhu is not allowed to ask for anything without an invitation. If he's sick, he can, but again, it's recommended that he doesn't. Now, pavarana is hugely misunderstood. Usually, out of 10 so-called pavaranas, only one is a correct pavarana. Why? The rule is a bhikkhu cannot ask without permission. Okay? You cannot ask without permission. So what does a pavarana have to do? Now you have to answer me. The pavarana has to give permission. To do what? It has to give permission for the bhikkhu to ask. So, Bhante, anything you need during this vasa, I will offer. Is that a pavarana? You? Is that a pavarana? Yes, you do. Right? Pavarana, you have to give the bhikkhu permission to ask for requisites. Okay? So you say, during this vasa Bhante, I will offer any requisites you need. Is that a pavarana? Why? Yeah, he didn't give permission for the bhikkhu to ask. And this is most of the pavaranas we get. Right? Bhante, anything you need? That's not a pavarana. That's just a question. Because you come on Monday and you say to the bhikkhu, Bhante, anything you need? Then the bhikkhu, maybe he doesn't need anything. He says, no. Then you get up and go, and that's it, finish. Then on Friday, the bhikkhu needs something, but he can't ask you because you haven't given him permission. You only asked on Monday. Right? This is, most of the pavaranas are like that. The most important thing in a pavarana is giving the permission, bhikkhu permission to ask. Right? So very often we get, people come, Bhante, you have so much on your account, right? $100. Finish. This I have experienced, and I know others who have experienced it. You have $100 in your account, and then they leave the room, finish. Right? No pavarana. And so the bhikkhu knows, there's somebody has $100 which for my requisites, but I can't ask anybody anything. Right? So they're just sitting there, nothing is happening. Right? So please remember, Bhante, anything you need, please ask. Please ask is the pavarana. The anything you need is not the pavarana. Any questions? Microphone?
What is the proper way to ask? How to ask? The right way?
Just as I said, Bhante, anything you need, please ask.
Please ask.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or please let me know.
Please let me know.
Or something like that.
Okay, maybe Bhante.
There's another one there.
Is that a blanket one, or you have to ask every time, every day, or I can say, Bhante, from now on, if anything you need, please ask.
Okay. This will come later, won't it? Yes, it'll come later. Okay, it'll come later.
I think maybe we should finish all the pavarana questions.
Yes,
then
yes,
we ask for questions, because I think a lot will be answered
Yes,
later.
yes.
Yeah. So the next question is, what are the key points to note in making a pavarana? 11.
Right. What are the key points to note in making a pavarana? I already explained. Please ask. Giving permission to ask, that is the key point. That is the pavarana. Right?
Okay.
Okay.
Now we come to the time frame for the pavarana. Okay. Could one include qualifications as to the extent in time, validity period, and value of the pavarana? Is there any advantage in doing so?
Okay, this is qualifying one's pavarana. And that is perfectly all right, because everybody has a different disposition. Right? For example, I once had a dayaka in Sri Lanka. He liked very much to offer books. Right? So he said, any books you need, Bhante, please ask. Right? Then I asked him for books. Then another one, any medicine you need, Bhante, please ask. Right? Because different people have different dispositions. They like to offer certain things, right? And that is perfectly all right.
So
because one must follow one's disposition. Because if one just is an ordinary person and one gives a very wide pavarana, then one might worry. Right? What's the people going to ask for? Right? But give things that one likes to offer. One might even, this comes later, but I can mention it at the same time. Right? One might even put a restriction in time. For example, one might decide, okay, now during the vasa, I want to give a pavarana to this bhikkhu. Then they go to the bhikkhu, Bhante, during this vasa, anything you need, please ask. Then it's only during the vasa. Right? It's perfectly all right, because we can't all do everything, right? Or a bhikkhu comes to the Singapore center for 3 days, right? Then anything you need while you are in Singapore, please ask. Everything perfectly beautiful, perfectly all right. And then there might be restrictions, as I just mentioned, any medicine you need, or any, or you can even put a limit to the value, right? Anything up to the value of so much, please ask. Right? That might be somebody who's a bit worried about money, but usually it's not necessary, because usually the bhikkhu will not extend. He will think of the person who asks, right? So that if Dowe gives me a pavarana, then I'm not going to ask him to get me a ticket to the US. Right? Okay?
Yep. The next question, if the Pavarana is offered without stating a validity period, is there a default period of validity?
There is a default. If there's no restriction, then it would be lifelong. But, for example, if the bhikkhu is in Singapore, somebody gives him a pavarana without any restrictions. Then he goes to Indonesia to participate in a retreat for 2 months. Then he returns. Then he will usually regard that pavarana as now it's defunct because I left the country, I was away for quite a while, and now I've returned. And then usually he will not ask. But if it's a dayaka who has supported him for many years, they have a very close relationship, right, then he might continue, he might not regard that. But that's different from bhikkhu to bhikkhu. So for example, if the monk at a meditation center who's in charge of, who's the chief monk at a meditation center, he goes abroad, he returns, and it's proper for the administration of that meditation center to renew their pavarana, right? And in all cases, it's proper to renew one's pavarana so that the bhikkhu doesn't have any doubt, because sometimes you give a pavarana and then he doesn't see you for a long time, and then he sees you again and then he's not sure. Maybe they've forgotten about it, right? Because if they've forgotten about it and I ask, then they might not feel very happy because their mind is not inclined in that direction, or he's not sure, maybe his business is not so good, or he just had the family problems or whatever. And so if one wants to continue to support the bhikkhu in that way, then it's good to renew one's pavarana again and again and again. That is, giving a pavarana is kusala. And so it's kusala to renew it. I have a dayaka in Penang. Once a week he takes me to the doctor, and every week he renews his pavarana. Right? And then I'm always comfortable. I always know I'm safe, that I can ask. Because this is the problem. The bhikkhu doesn't want to ask if he's not sure, are they inclined, has their mind changed, or something like that. And then, then another example is that if you give a pavarana to a bhikkhu, and then he says, I need a toothbrush, please, and I need it to be medium, because soft doesn't brush my teeth properly. And then you say, okay, Bhante. Then you come the next week or the next day or whatever, and you haven't brought it, because maybe you've forgotten, maybe you bought the toothbrush and forgot it at home, or maybe you forgot the whole thing altogether. Then the pavarana is broken. And the bhikkhu can't ask for any more until you give it to him. So maybe a month passes, and he sees you again and again and again, and you don't give it to him, then he regards that pavarana doesn't exist anymore. Right? And then of course there's a case where the bhikkhu asks for something unallowable, then the pavarana is automatically broken, unless the layperson is foolish enough to offer the unallowable item. This also happens. Then I don't know what, then it's very problematic. Okay?
Bhante, could a bhikkhu assume that the invitation is always valid, although the pavarana is made without specifying the validity period of the invitation?
Right. Can the bhikkhu assume that the invitation is always valid, although there are no restrictions on it? I just explained that. Yes, he can, but it's better to renew it again and again and again, so that he's always sure. Right? And it's not akusala to renew your pavarana. And it's not very difficult, it's just one sentence, right? So it's not a problem.
Bhante, could a bhikkhu make a request for requisites? Sorry.
Unless an offer has been renewed or extended, the implied, well, if a period is not stated, then the assumed
4
period
months.
of validity is 4 months.
No, that's a Vinaya rule.
What's the
That's a Vinaya rule.
yeah
That's a Vinaya rule about medicine.
about medicine?
Yes, 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 yes.
Specifically.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm sorry, I don't remember it. I looked at it and I thought I don't need to explain that, and so I don't remember it.
Yeah. The next question: could a bhikkhu make a request for requisites if the pavarana has lapsed?
No. So that if you say 3 months, then the bhikkhu cannot ask beyond that. Except if he's sick, then he can ask without pavarana, but it's better he doesn't.
Okay. In case of doubt as to the validity period and types of requisite offered under the pavarana, what should a bhikkhu do?
He should do nothing. Because if there's any doubt, then okay, then I won't ask this person. Because it's not, right, that's another thing. It's not proper for a bhikkhu to, if somebody gives a wrong pavarana, then a bhikkhu should not explain pavarana to them at that time. That's the wrong time to explain. And he also shouldn't explain just out of the blue. He should explain only when the person asks, or on an occasion like this, where there's a general questions and answers. Right? And so, if the bhikkhu has doubt about whether the pavarana is still valid, okay, don't do anything. If the bhikkhu has doubt whether the person wants to offer, etc., 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 don't do anything. Right? Because the vinaya is more important than the requisites. And the layperson's state of mind is more important than the requisites. Right? Requisites are not very important in the Buddha Sasana. The Buddha says they're just unimportant things. Right? We need them to survive, but they are not important. Okay?
Okay. Under what circumstances could a bhikkhu request for requisite without an invitation?
Right, a bhikkhu can ask for requisites without a pavarana. In case of sickness, in case of an emergency, for example, if his robes have been stolen and he's got no robes, then you can ask for robes. So only in an emergency.
Could a representative of the center appointed by the committee extend an invitation to a bhikkhu?
Right, so we've got the committee of meditation center, and then one person gives a... Sorry, it's not the committee. Could a representative of the center, right? Mm-hmm. So how many people belong to Power Meditation Center, for example? 800. So one person can give a pavarana on behalf of 800 people? What do you think? No. Why not? Why not?
The state of mind of the lay person to wanting to give is essential, right?
This lady is very clever. That's exactly it. How can you know the mind of 800 people? Right? You don't know.
One person cannot represent 800 people.
No.
Unless the 799 has the same mental state
Yeah,
of
exactly.
giving.
Yeah. Right? Because then you have to say, okay, number one is willing to offer medicine for 4 months, and number two, then you go through all 800 names, and you had a discussion with them, what kind of pavarna are you willing to give? Maybe they're not willing to give a pavarna, right? Or maybe they haven't thought of it. It has to come unprompted from the person. So this is impossible. But if the people who are running, the lay people who are in charge of a meditation center, maybe they've got an amount of money that people have given for the bhikkhus requisites, right? So they're holding money that people have offered for general use for the bhikkhus' benefit. Then a member of that lay committee can give a pavarna to the bhikkhu on behalf of, to use that money, right? So that Bhante, Power Meditation Center committee would like to give you a pavarna. That means that I can ask, then please, if there's anything you need, please ask me, for example. Right? Then the bhikkhu can ask this person, for example, Mr. Teo, who's the chairman of the committee at this center, he might say, Bhante, is there anything you need? On behalf of this center, I would like to give a pavarna. But it's not on behalf of 800 people. It's the money that has been offered for the bhikkhu's benefit, which Mr. Teo and the rest of the committee members are in charge of. That is what he's referring to. And then that's okay. Okay. Any other questions in that regard?
Can we make a pavarna on behalf of someone? Like, for example, this so-and-so is supposed to be your kapya, has been assigned to be your kapya, you've just arrived, and then can I make a pavarna on his behalf to say that if there's anything that Bhante needs, please kindly ask this person?
Yes, yes. If you've made that arrangement with him, right, so that he's... because, for example, somebody might actually say to you, a friend of yours or somebody might say, please give such and such a bhikkhu a pavarna on my behalf for this and this, or for this and this period. That's perfectly allowable. Because that is in the Vinaya, right, the 10th Nisaggiya Pachitiya rule, where a minister or a Brahmin sends a man to the bhikkhu, and he with money for robes, and then that man gives the bhikkhu a pavarna on behalf of that minister, right?
Okay. The next question. If the offer is specific, say for example for item A, could the bhikkhu request for item B instead? Item B may not be the same value as, or could be higher value than item A.
The bhikkhu should stick to the restrictions.
Meaning stick to item A, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, the next one. Could the bhikkhu request for requisite of a quality or price higher than what the donor intended to offer or could afford?
No.
No. Okay.
He may ask by mistake.
Okay.
Because I remember once I asked for something and then I just checked, is this expensive or what? And he said, no, Bhante, it's not expensive. I said, no, you don't tell lies. Is it expensive or is it not expensive? I said, Bhante, it is expensive. Okay, I'm sorry. Right? Because sometimes the bhikkhu doesn't know that something is expensive, right? And that's just a mistake.
Okay. Could a bhikkhu give a hint, directly or indirectly, via third party, of his desire for higher quality or price items?
Right, so can a bhikkhu give a hint, directly or indirectly, of a desire for higher quality, of items of a higher quality or items of a higher price? Now, then we come back to the pavarna about food, right? So that we may say, Bhante, is there anything I can offer which is suitable for you? There may be a case where a bhikkhu, somebody wants to offer robes, and then he gets unsuitable robes. And then he may say, I'm very sorry, but I mean, this is a borderline case. Usually a bhikkhu will not do it, but it could be allowable. He might say, this is not suitable for me. It can even be, in my case, for example, get robes that are too small. Right? So they offer robes, but it would only be with a person I know. Right? If it's somebody I don't really know, then usually just accept, okay, never mind. Right? And they might offer some medicine which is unsuitable, and if the bhikkhu knows the person, might say, I'm sorry, this is not suitable for some reason or other. And then the alternative might be more expensive, but the bhikkhu is not asking because he wants something more expensive. He's asking because what he's been given is unsuitable. For example, sometimes people ask me if there's anything I need, and I say I need honey, and then I get some very cheap honey. And I know from experience that if I eat that honey, I'm going to get a stomachache, right? And I'm eating honey because I want to get rid of the stomachache, not to get the stomachache. And then, if I know the person, I might say, I'm sorry, this honey is not suitable for me. But this would be only if there's a very confident relationship between the bhikkhu and the layperson. If it's somebody the bhikkhu doesn't know very well or doesn't know at all, then you just accept and then give it to somebody else or something.
Okay. Is it proper for a bhikkhu to decline or pass comments on offer of requisites not up to his expectation as to quality or price?
Right, so the bhikkhu is not happy with what he has received and then he gives comments. It depends on the bhikkhu's intention. Right, so for example, if a bhikkhu receives something which is unsuitable, and then another dayaka comes, and the bhikkhu needs this thing, and he maybe feels that he has asked this dayaka too much, but he needs it, and then he got this thing which is unsuitable, and he might say to the dayaka, I'm very sorry, but this man offered me this, and it's not suitable for me. Right? For example, he might get plastic robes. Plastic robes for me are very unsuitable, make me very hot and very uncomfortable. Right? Then I might say to my dayaka, I need new robes, but I've only received these plastic robes. Please, I need some cotton robes. Right? And so he's not criticizing what he has received. He's just explaining that this what I have received is unsuitable, and I need something that's suitable. Right? Because we must remember that the Vinaya the Buddha has laid down to help the bhikkhus. And the Vinaya has many, many rules, but many, 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 many allowances. And one of the allowances is that the bhikkhu is allowed, in an allowable way, to seek suitable requisites for himself. And that includes robes, kuti, food, and medicine. Right? He's not doesn't have to receive bad things. That is not his duty, because his duty is meditation. And if he receives, for example, robes that are too heavy, then he's allowed to try and get lighter robes, because the robes that are too heavy might make it difficult for him to meditate. Or robes that are too light because it's cold, or robes that are plastic, or whatever.
Bhante, is it appropriate for a bhikkhu to turn down the offer of requisite if he does not need the items? Is it better for him to accept the offer to let the donor complete his or her act of dana?
This is a case of refusing a dana that is being made, right? And there again, it depends on the relationship. So that if somebody, the bhikkhu doesn't know, offers something, then he accepts. But if it's a dayaka who offers again and again and again and again and again, then the bhikkhu can say, I'm sorry, I don't need that. Why? Because, for example, this meditation center upstairs is about to explode with requisites. Right? And that's perfectly all right, because the Buddha has nowhere said that the Sangha should say to the people, now enough. Nowhere. Right? Because part of the whole Buddha Sasana is that lay people have the opportunity to make offerings. But it's problematic, right? Sometimes a bhikkhu gets a very nice kuti, it's only got a table and a bed and it's nice and empty and it's very good for meditation, and, right? Then the people begin to offer. And the kuti becomes more and more full of things, right? And the bhikkhu may, with the dayakas that he knows, right, they want to offer a huge cupboard that he doesn't need. No, I don't need a huge cupboard, right? It's somebody he knows, right? Or I don't need that. No, I don't need that, right? And so it depends on the relationship. If it's somebody, for example, who's made a big effort. For example, I remember a story I heard about a layman in Sri Lanka who wasn't very rich, and then he wanted to offer a katina robe to a certain monk, and this monk was practicing Dhutanga, and he would not accept any robe from a shop. This man traveled very far to a town to buy the most expensive robe he could find in the shop. And he's not a rich man, right? And he has a poor car, and he makes big effort to offer, right? Then the bhikkhu should accept, right? Because this person has made big effort. And sometimes people come and I cooked this specially for you, Bhante, right? Then, okay. I remember once I was for house dana, then I just take the food I need, and then, okay, I don't need anything, I don't need it anymore. Then they removed everything, right? And one was a plate of a very delicious cake, right? But I just looked at all the food, I don't need to eat this cake, right? So, and then the lady of the house returned with the cake and said, Bhante, I bought this specially for you, you have to eat it. Okay, right? Right? And that's because it's not a problem. Then maybe if you don't want to eat, then you just eat one spoonful and then they're happy, right? So it depends on the relationship.
Okay, next question. When we would like to offer medicine, supplements, etc. to the Sangha, especially if it concerns Chinese medicine or some herbal supplements, it is not easy to determine if some of the ingredients would constitute lifetime medicine, 7-day medicine, 1-day medicine, or food not allowable afternoon. How can we tell and differentiate?
Right, so this is medicine. How, as a layperson, to decide what kind of medicine it is and whether it's allowable, etc. Well, number one, you can read the ingredients on the bottle. Number two, you can learn the Vinaya for the monk. If you don't have time for that or don't have the inclination for that, then when you want to offer, then you can, right, you take the bottle and then you say, Bhante, I would like to offer this medicine, but please check if it's allowable, right? And then you just hold the bottle, and then the bhikkhu reads it, and then he may say, this is not, this I can only keep for 7 days or whatever, then please do like this or that. This you can see very often in power when a bhikkhu receives a parcel and he doesn't touch it, right? Then the kapya takes the parcel, then the kapya goes to a place, opens the parcel, and then goes through the items. Okay, this is a pen, ahir medicine. Then he lets the bhikkhu read what it is, and the bhikkhu, this is 7 days, you keep it. Then the kapya offers it to the bhikkhu 7 days by 7 days, and that is a very kusala procedure. Okay? Then, sorry, this is another question.
Yeah. Herbal roots, herbal leaves, seeds extract, fruit extract, are these allowable as the lifetime medicine?
Right, herbal roots, herbal leaves are allowable as lifetime medicine. I'm not sure what they mean by herbs in Singapore, right? But in British English herbs, vegetables are not herbs, right? It would be medicinal herbs. And potatoes are not, in British English, potatoes are not herbal roots, right? It has to be like, I think, is ginseng a root? Yes, right? It has to be medicinal roots. Then seeds extract depends on the seed. If the seed is something which is food, then it's not a lifetime medicine. Then it can only be taken within kala, right? You know kala, right? When you take the 8 precepts, you say vikala, Vikala Bhojana Viram Nishkapatana Samadhiyami. Vikala is from noon until the next day's rise of dawn, and Kala is from the rise of dawn until noon. So seeds extract, if it's seeds that are food, then only allowable during Kala. If it's seeds from something that is not food, then it can be a lifetime medicine. Then there's fruit extract. Again, if it's orange extract or apple extract or whatever, that is food and that is not allowable during Vikala. But for example, nutmeg, is that a fruit or what? But I investigated in Penang. I asked them, is this a fruit that people eat just like that, or does it need to be cooked and as a medicine? And they told me yes, right? So that would be, and then they cook it with sugar, right? So it becomes a syrup. And so people can keep it for 7 days because it's got sugar in it. Because nutmeg is not something you eat like that, right? You don't, it's not like an apple, right? So there may be some fruits which are not food which would be allowable. But fruits that are food are not allowable, right? And this is a very big problem now with a lot of these health medicines and all that they've got all sorts of extracts. And if it's food, then it's only allowable between the rise of dawn and noon.
But where do we draw the line? Like, for example, ginger. Ginger is taken as food, but it is also allowable. So
the Buddha specifies ginger. The Buddha mentions ginger specifically in the Vinaya as something that is allowable as lifetime medicine.
Is there any other such examples?
I'm sorry?
Are there any other such examples, like ginger, which can be food and medicine?
Garlic is another example. Pepper. I can't think of any more. There's a whole list of things that are used in food which the Buddha mentioned specifically.
Where can we find this, Bhante?
It's in the Mahavagga.
Okay. Bhante, as bhikkhus are not allowed to cook, is it allowable for bhikkhus to boil Chinese herbs to be consumed as medicine?
Chinese herbs are not food. People are not allowed to cook food, but he's allowed to cook medicine.
Okay.
But they can ask, what about spices? Are they considered as food, or would they be allowable?
They would be, for example, what's that yellow powder called?
Turmeric.
Turmeric. Turmeric is allowable as medicine, as lifetime medicine. I can't think of any more, but
cinnamon and
yes. But mint, for example, right. Then again, you've got different countries, different ways of looking at it. Because, for example, mint, some would say it's not allowable to drink mint tea in the afternoon. Some would say it is allowable, and so because that's not mentioned specifically in the Vinaya, so that can be a problem.
And Bhante, would not, because some bhikkhus they observe the rule of not cooking, so would not wanting to put salt into one's soup be carrying it a bit too far?
I'm not following you.
Oh, okay, because I've come across bhikkhus who would not put salt into their soup because the soup is hot.
Because of what?
The soup is hot, so they do not want to be cooking. So would not, okay, if you don't put vegetables in the soup, I can understand because the vegetables can get cooked by the hot soup. But would not putting salt into the soup be carrying a bit too far? So, okay.
I don't want to say it's carrying a bit too far, but
is that allowable, in other words?
But I think if you put food into hot soup, right, your intention is not to cook it. You might have the intention to heat it up. You're allowed to reheat food. And so you might, for example, here in the morning, usually the breakfast we get, everything's cold, right? Then sometimes we get a bowl of hot soup, then I put the cold noodles into the hot soup, because my doctors told me I mustn't eat cold food. And so that would be allowable. Sometimes, with the intention of being very pure and keeping very good sila, then sometimes we go a little bit astray.
If a lay person would like to offer slippers, sandals to a bhikkhu, what would be some of the guidelines on what type of slippers, sandals would be allowable for bhikkhus?
In the Buddha's time, the bhikkhus wore the sandals that lay people wore. So there's nothing in the Vinaya that says that special sandals for bhikkhus, but the Buddha laid down certain colors that they're not allowed to wear, like blue straps, red straps, etc. But if the bhikkhu gets sandals that have this color, then he can damage the blue strap, for example. He can damage it a little bit, then it's allowable, or he can paint it over with a brown or a color like that, and then it's allowable. And black is another color he's not allowed to wear, but if he damages it, then he can wear it, and that's why. And also it doesn't look, right, because it doesn't look good, because when bhikkhus were wearing sandals with all these colors, then people complain, right, they're like householders, right, wearing all these fancy sandals with all these colors, and it doesn't look good. A bhikkhu wearing, right, brown robes and everything, and then bright blue sandals or bright red sandals or sandals with stripes and all sorts of things. And so it's allowable, but it doesn't look good. And so it would be a good idea to try to find sandals that are brown or beige or some color that is more bhikkhu-like. But according to the Vinaya, the bhikkhu can actually wear almost any kind of sandals if he just damages the color, right? But even a pair of bright red sandals that where you've damaged it, it still doesn't look very good, right?
Qualifications as to the type of material, for instance, cotton or something.
Sorry, I didn't look that up. I didn't look that up because bhikkhu's not allowed to wear cloth sandals. You're not allowed to wear wooden clogs.
Right.
He's not allowed to wear sandals made of leather from unallowable animals like elephants and horse and things like that. I'm sorry, I only thought of plastic sandals. Right, but for example, you can offer leather sandals. That's perfectly allowable to offer leather sandals, as long as it's not human leather or elephant leather or tiger leather or lion leather or dog leather or anything like that.
And also that it shouldn't be covered. That the back is not straps and things like that.
Yes, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be like a shoe, right? It shouldn't. The back should be open. Right? Because they're not allowed to wear shoes.
Even with stripes at the back?
What?
Stripes.
As far as I remember, that's not allowable. But I'm not completely there. I'm sorry, I didn't look that up. I was thinking only of because it says slippers, and I only thought of slippers. Okay.
Bhante, shall we proceed?
Okay, any other questions about offering requisites in general? Then we get to providing service.
What are the merits? In what areas could one offer services?
Please read the last 3 lines. And then please read the last 3 sentences again. Sorry. Here, the middle DHPA. Okay, does that answer the question? Insufficient knowledge, then we may, in our wanderings in samsara, we may encounter the Buddha Sasana, which includes dana, includes study, includes meditation, includes service, includes all sorts of things, right? All the things that are apart from the knowledge, then we will have difficulty in encountering the sasana in our wanderings in samsara. Right? So a very important thing there is dana. Right? So offering services to the sangha is charana, and that it's logical, in fact, that you encounter the sasana, you offer services to the sasana, you have continuous interaction with the sasana, which is kusala, well then of course you're going to meet the sasana again in your future lives. All right?
So in what areas could one offer services?
In what area can one offer services? All areas. Right? There are some Yamaris, ladies in this center, they go and clean the bhikkhu's bathroom and toilet and everything. Right? Very kusala, because that's not something people want to do. Right? And that's something I've been told that's something in Myanmar is considered something really kusala to do, to go and clean the bhikkhu's bathroom and toilet. Right? Because that's really giving service. Right? So anything, because for example, just you take, sometimes a bhikkhu may go to the doctor with a daika. Then he has a bag over his shoulder, he has a sitting cloth, maybe he has an umbrella. Then the daika arrives, and the daika is sitting in the car, and the bhikkhu opens the door, gets in, puts his sitting cloth, sits down, and then they drive to the doctor. Then the daika stops the car, the daika gets out of the car, then the bhikkhu gets out of the car, takes his sitting cloth, goes in, maybe it's raining, he's holding his umbrella, and then he goes to the doctor, etc., etc. That's one way. Another way is the daika arrives, he goes to see the bhikkhu, he says, Bhante, he pays respect to the bhikkhu, he says, can I take your bag? Can I take your sitting cloth? Can I take your umbrella? And he says, please come. And then he goes down to the car, opens the door, puts the sitting cloth, Bhante, please sit in my car, closes the door, right? That's all service. Is it akusala? Yes? Akusala? Okay, good. Right? Many people don't want to do that because why should I? Right? But that's mana, that's pride. So it's kusala. And one should never stop people from doing that because it's kusala. Some people, you can see some people do it very diligently. They want very much to do it. And they will do it even with a bhikkhu who's ordained that same day. And that's kusala. And the bhikkhu who receives it, why does he receive all that service? Why does he receive all that service? No, come on. What is the cause for his receiving all that service? Yes, exactly, his own past karma, right? And so, why should you stop that beautiful thing that is taking place, right? The bhikkhu provided services in the past to the sangha, he becomes a bhikkhu and then he receives all these services, right? And so, everything hangs together.
Bhante, is it appropriate for female layperson to do this kind of services like offering to carry the bags of bhikkhus?
Yes, but don't touch. Right?
Okay.
It's okay for a woman to hold the umbrella, but borderline, because it might give rise to, people might see it and not be very happy, right? So this is, sometimes it's okay, but it's not okay, all right?
Is providing service to the Sangha more meritorious than supporting the propagation of the Dharma?
Okay, this is a very good question. Is providing service to the Sangha more meritorious than supporting the propagation of the Dhamma? Okay, so if somebody sees you providing services to the bhikkhu, is that propagation of the Dhamma or is it not propagation of the Dhamma? It is, so I don't understand this question. No. I'm saying somebody sees you providing services to the bhikkhu. Is that propagating the Dhamma? Seeing this. For example, somebody sees. I remember once I was in a hospital. I was talking to a Daiga who had had an accident, and then there was somebody translating, and he asked me to come about 3 times a week, and if this person took me to the hospital, this person would stand like this when I gave the Daiga a Dhamma talk, and then the whole family would do like this. Then the other translator, wouldn't do like that. He would just stand like that. And then the whole family would stand like that. Right? So that's how the person who does like this and everybody else does it because he does it. He's propagating the Dhamma. Does that answer your question?
But I think there's another part of the question. There's another part of the question. I think.
The next question?
You're saying providing sense?
Oh, the next question, huh? Is
supporting the provision of the Dhamma. I mean, I think the other part is not really relating to the Dhamma.
it's like maybe say, for example, printing of just supporting the printing of Dhamma books.
Okay. So is providing service to the Sangha more meritorious than helping print Dhamma books? Yeah, working with I'm presuming we're not talking about what the bhikkhu is doing, we're talking about what the layperson is doing. Now, it depends, because some people help with the publication of Dhamma books in a great way. So they make a lot of merit. Some people, most people, just put their hand in their pocket, take some money, and that's their assistance. There's not much effort in that. Very few people give service. Very, very few. Why? In most cases, in many cases, it's because they think it's unnecessary. And giving service can very often require much more effort than putting your hand in your pocket and offering $50 or whatever, right? Because providing services is, for example, taking the bhikkhu to the doctor. Very difficult for a bhikkhu to be taken to the doctor, because nobody can spare an hour a week, right? And this is just the way it is, because the reason why you are not bhikkhus is because your priorities are your job, your money, your house, your family and all that. And so those are the priorities, not the bhikkhu. And so very often the service requires much more effort, much more kusala, much more the desire to do kusala than to propagate the Dhamma. Because even though Dhamma is the highest dana of all, not much effort just to offer some money. Right? It all depends on the mind. We can't really compare because it depends on the mind. Right? Some people work very hard to make the Dhamma book very good. Some people, they want to publish a Dhamma book and they want to do it very fast, and they don't really care whether the quality is good or no good, and they don't really care, right? Because they just want to get it over with as quickly as possible. It's not very kusala, right? So it depends how one does it. And then again, the Buddha says we should not think too much about the workings of karma, because that's the Buddha's domain. We should just understand how it works, but to begin a measure is difficult, because the Buddha, in one sutta, the Buddha says to the householder Anathapindika, he says, right, just a bowl of broken rice offered with a respectful mind and faith in the workings of karma can be much more meritorious than offering a huge amount of delicious food in an unrespectful and careless way. Right? So it all depends on the mind.
Is providing service in the administrations of a Buddhist society in support of the Sangha and the propagation of Dhamma of much merits?
Yes, it is, but again, it depends on the motive, right? Some people might want to be member of a committee in a monastery because they want to show off, and they might not actually do very much, Right? Might just show up and the bhikkhus never see them, and it depends on the motive. And so it can be very kusala, it can be not very kusala. It's always kusala, but it depends on how one does it.
Okay. Is it proper for a bhikkhu to expect demand service if not offered?
Is it proper for a bhikkhu to expect or demand service if not offered? No, it's not proper at all. There's a sutta where the Buddha says to Venerable Mahamoggallana, right, you might go for Pindapata, and you might come to a house where they usually greet you very politely and everything, and then they don't notice you. No, you should not get angry, because they have other priorities, right? You should not allow it to affect you. It's just not the bhikkhu's duty to demand anything from anybody, right? For example, a kapya is not the bhikkhu's servant. Bhikkhu cannot treat a kapya as a servant. A kapya is somebody who does something voluntarily, and the bhikkhu must treat the kapya with respect and must not demand things, right? And must not say, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. That is not proper, right? Because the kapya is not a servant, and bhikkhu should not complain about the kapya services unless maybe it's a very old relationship, right? Maybe it's been a kapya for many years, right? Then the bhikkhu might say, how can you do that? Right? Now, 20 years you've been, right? That's all right because there's a very close relationship, right? But otherwise, the bhikkhu cannot demand anything, right? He has his own karma he has to live with, but if people are rude or do not provide services or something like that, then he should, right? That was the quotation earlier about the family that the bhikkhu should not associate with. Then he should not associate with them, but he can't demand anything, right? For example, when you travel, right, the stewards and the stewardesses, many of them, they think you're just an idiot, a clown, right? You can't demand anything, you can't make a scene, so that is quite improper.
Must we extend a paravana for service to bhikkhu before a bhikkhu could ask for services from the lay devotees, for example, to use any equipment or to clean the room?
Does a bhikkhu need to receive a pavarana for services? Can a bhikkhu ask for services without a pavarana? No, he cannot. Right? So a bhikkhu should look after his own kuti, and then if people want offer a pavarana, can we clean your room? Then fine. But usually a bhikkhu will not ask, because it's not very good to ask, because he can do that himself, right? He can't offer food to himself, but he can clean his kuti himself. So I can't think of a situation where a bhikkhu, where people say, Bhante, if there's any cleaning of your room you require, please ask. I can't think of a situation where a bhikkhu would say, please come and clean my room. But maybe they may say, if you need your robes washed, please ask. Then the bhikkhu might say, okay, I need some robes to be washed. And so that also depends. But it's very good if we want to offer services to the bhikkhu, to inform the bhikkhu that we are going to, for example, clean his room. Right? Some people just go to the bhikkhu's room, start cleaning it, and move things around, remove things, do all sorts of. Their intention is very good, but it's not very good, because how would you like somebody to go into your house and start moving things around and removing things and doing all sorts of. Right? It just say, Bhante, we'd like to clean your room. Then usually the bhikkhu will say, okay, when do you want to clean it? We would like to do it now. Okay, right? Then the bhikkhu knows, right? And that is better.
Okay. If the level of service provided is not up to the expectation or satisfaction of the bhikkhu, is it proper for bhikkhu to criticize the service provider, even if the service was provided to his or her best ability or time availability? Convey his dissatisfaction to another bhikkhu, or convey his dissatisfaction to another devotees? What is the proper way to deal with this?
Right, so this is somebody providing services which are not very good, and the bhikkhu complains, It again depends on the motive. It depends on the motive. So, for example, somebody might give a bhikkhu a wrong pavarna. It doesn't have a proper pavarna. And then the bhikkhu can't ask for anything. And then his dayaka comes and he says, I'm sorry, I need this thing, but this person, they gave me a pavarna, but it wasn't a real pavarna, so I can't ask them, and so I need to ask you again. I'm sorry, but it's just because I need this thing. Right? So there can be that situation, or he might say to another bhikkhu, right, this person wanted to clean my room, and right, and look what this person did, right? Everything has been moved around. I can't find anything anymore, right? Or they've broken the window, or whatever, right? It depends on the motive, because is the motive criticism or is it just informing, right? If we want to criticize the person, that's no good. But if we just are exchanging information, that's all right, because everybody's different. So, for example, there may be some dayakas, they're famous for very good behavior, right? Then the bhikkhus will tell each other, he's really excellent, he always does everything perfect, right? Or he might go, yes, he's very forgetful, right? He gives you pavarna, then you ask for something and then he forgets. So just beware, or he's not very careful with this or that, right? That's just ordinary information that the bhikkhus might exchange.
What is Bante's view on offering massage service to monk?
Is it proper to offer massage service to monks? This is very good. Very, very good. Right? In Myanmar, there's a custom for people to go to the monk and offer massage. Right? You can see, sometimes I've seen the power sadhu, right, with 10 monks, right? One with his left foot and the other with his left leg and the other with his right foot. Right? That's very kusala, right? Because you're making bodily effort to relieve, to give, to help the monk gain good health, right? And so it's completely kusala. It would not be kusala if the monk went and got a massage from a woman, but otherwise, very good.
Shall we continue?
Any other questions about service?
Bante, you mentioned about washing robes. Is it appropriate for a female lay person to wash the robes for the bhikkhu, or is it more appropriate for male to do that?
I'm not aware that it's improper for a female to wash robe for a bhikkhu. A bhikkhuni should not wash robe for a bhikkhu, but a lay woman can wash robe for a bhikkhu, as far as I recall. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, but usually we try to regard selays as bhikkhunis, even though they aren't bhikkhunis. In practice, a selay would be allowed because she's not a bhikkhuni, but we treat selays as if they were bhikkhunis. Because in power, many a selay is not a bhikkhuni. Right? Yes, but it's not good to. It's good to treat selays as if they were bhikkhunis. Right?
Okay, just to clarify, because I was told before, Bante, that if a bhikkhuni washes, then it's a pachitiya offense.
Yeah, it's a bhikkhuni.
But if it's a lay female, then it's a dukkata offense? Is it, or
not as far as I know. But, right, the Vinaya is vast, and maybe I've missed something. Right?
Okay, our next category of questions is interaction with bhikkhus. Is it proper? You have any questions?
I don't know whether I should ask now or wait for it under the category of interaction with bhikkhus.
Yeah, now
you allow me? I can. Okay. I think it's about. Okay, each of us has a different disposition. So let's say a devotee is a very long-winded person, who feel very difficult to express what he want to convey to the bhikkhu, in a very succinct way. Let's say it's very concise way. So is it appropriate for the bhikkhu to avoid that devotee just because he or she is very long-winded in his way of expressing himself or herself? I mean, is there even a rule to say that a monk should help the devotee regardless of how he presents himself? So for example, I'm taking a lot of time to ask you this question because I can't express it in a more concise way. So will you be put off by my question and avoid?
I don't understand your question, because even a polite gentleman would be patient with other people. So sometimes I have problems expressing myself because I'm not a Buddha, and I can't imagine that a bhikkhu would express impatience, right? Here, when I say to you, "Come on," right? That is just a friendly way of telling you, right? Try to think another way, right? But there's no anger or anything. So I can't imagine that a bhikkhu would avoid somebody because they have difficulty expressing themselves, so long as what they're talking about is useful.
You see, because if a bhikkhu says that, look, we also have our own time commitment, so if you want to talk to me, please be concise and not, take your own sweet time to express yourself. Is it appropriate for a bhikkhu to say such a thing?
This is not appropriate for anybody, right? Nobody with proper breeding and good manners would ever talk like that to anybody. Only a policeman maybe, or maybe a teacher might say to a student, right? But you would never say it to an ordinary person. And if a layperson comes to a bhikkhu and the layperson is disturbing the bhikkhu's routine, right? Maybe it's time. Then he can just say, "I'm sorry, now I need to go," right? But he doesn't interrupt the person. But this question is not about bhikkhus, it's about good manners by anybody.
So I think what I understand from you is a bhikkhu should provide a listening ear to someone who has a problem and approaches the bhikkhu to...
It depends on the problem, because if people come to the bhikkhu about family problems, that he should not get involved in. Only Dhamma. And
so how do you respond if a bhikkhu say, better be precise, if concise, or or the bhikkhu will avoid you in future?
You want me to say that it's bad, but I don't want to say it's bad because I don't want to criticize other bhikkhus.
Okay, I'll stop here.
So I've just explained it the other way, which is that a well-bred person would never talk like that to anybody.
But is it for good for the Sangha? And I think a few words of, I think not all are behaved the same, right? So for those who deviated from the original teachings of the Buddha, or as you just mentioned, what a reasonable man would do. So how do we? We are not in the position to correct a bhikkhu, right? So how do we let him or her know that, hey, is that the way? Or I have been very disrespectful to even think of that.
For example, it happens not infrequently that people tell lies to me, right? I don't say anything. Why? Because that person is not going to stop telling lies because I tell him that he's lying. That person is a liar. And so there's no purpose in saying to that, "You're telling lies." Right? You just don't say anything, and then, okay, this person is unreliable. And if a person is rude enough to say, come on, then our telling them that they're being rude is not going to stop them. They're just going to get angry. And so then we find another people to talk to. Because people's bad manners are something you learn from childhood. Very, very difficult to learn them later on in life. And we can't change them by fighting with them and telling them you are being very rude and all. Just ignore it. Why? Because then we are angry and we are doing a kusala and we are fighting, and that's no good, whether it's a bhikkhu or a layperson.
My final parting words is that sometimes if I'm very new to Buddhism, and this is the first bhikkhu that I have got interact with, that will mean that my faith in the Sangha will not be as strong for me to continue to learn the Dharma.
That's your problem.
I mean, maybe that's my karma, my past karma.
Yeah, that's because of insufficient charana. You haven't provided enough services in past lives. You have been rude to bhikkhus in past lives. So that's your problem, because it's your faith is your problem. It's not the bhikkhu's problem. Right? And so if you allow a bhikkhu's behavior to disturb your faith, that is your problem. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. So we proceed to the next.
Sorry, I just want to add,
Yeah.
but a bhikkhu should still try to protect people's faith, because a Buddha sasana is very rare, and some people have very little faith, and the bhikkhu should try to protect their very little faith, or their very little understanding. But ultimately, it is a person's own problem, right? Because all bhikkhus aren't the same, right? Different bhikkhus have different personalities, and just because a bhikkhu might be a little bit rude doesn't mean that he's stupid, doesn't mean that he doesn't keep good sila, doesn't mean that he doesn't know how to meditate. Maybe that's just his character, he's not been brought up properly, and it's improper behavior, but losing faith, that is your problem. Okay?
Next category, interaction with bhikkhus. Is it proper to come to the center, interact with bhikkhus, dress in shorts, dress in sloppily?
Okay, is it proper to come to the meditation center, to the monastery, and to interact with bhikkhus wearing shorts or being sloppily dressed? Okay, what do you think? What do you think? I'm asking you a question, please answer my question. It's not okay? Why? It's disrespectful, that is correct. So, it's impossible to put on a pair of shorts with the intention to go to the monastery with a mind of respect. That is completely impossible. Then people may say, oh, but we wear shorts in our everyday life. That is irrelevant. Because going to the meditation center, interacting with bhikkhus is not everyday life. Recently somebody told me, but that's how they dress in the shopping center when they go shopping. Yes, but you're not going shopping, so that's irrelevant. It's disrespectful. Why? There's a very easy way to work it out. Is yesterday, for example, I saw a young man, his name was Derek. Is he here? No, he's not. I asked him if he was coming, he said he wasn't sure. Right? His name was Derek. He was wearing a shirt with sleeves, a proper shirt, and he was wearing proper trousers. And I looked at him and I thought, I have never seen anybody dressed like that in a Singapore center before. Never. Then I could see, he's come from work. That's why he's respectfully dressed. Right? So people go to work respectfully dressed, properly dressed. Why? It may be the dress code, but if you have your own business, image. Why is the image important? Well, come on, you all dress respectfully when you go to work. Why? Sorry? Self-confidence, self-respect, right? Image is an expression of one's character, of one's intention. So if you want to do business, you dress in a way that is going to inspire confidence in the people you associate with. Because the way you dress reflects, in the case of association with bhikkhus and going to the monastery, the way you dress reflects your faith. If you are properly and respectfully dressed, it reflects that you have such faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha that you think you should dress in a respectful manner. If you are sloppily dressed, wearing shorts, a t-shirt, right, just looking, and for a woman, or even a man, right, even now men have bare shoulders and all that, that reflects that your faith is very weak and you are more interested in comfort and ease. Because easy is not the same as kusala. Usually, easy is the same as akusala. Once there was a man in Penang. The Bhikkhus usually say nothing, because we are not policemen. It is not our job to go around and tell people, do this, don't do that. No. This is not our job. We didn't ordain for that. We don't want to fight with anybody. We just see this person is sloppily dressed, right? Wearing a t-shirt that says Joe's Pizza, and then a pair of shorts, and that's it. Right? This person is sloppily dressed. This person has perhaps very, very little respect for the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. This person I don't want to talk to. Why? Because if a person is willing to dress like that and go and offer, to dress like that and pay respect to the Buddha, to dress like that and pay respect to the Bhikkhus, to dress like that and ask about the Dhamma, that person is very difficult to know what is that person not capable of doing. If they can show such disrespect in a place like a meditation center or a monastery. And so, very careful. And that brings us to the fact that there are rules in the Vinaya about dressing, right? Please read this. Okay, right? Then the next one, to one lying down when I'm standing, to one who sits clasping his knees, right? If you clasp your knees, then the bhikkhu cannot teach you the Dhamma. One wearing headgear, one whose head is covered, one sitting on a seat when I'm sitting on the ground, etc. Right? So these are all rules that the Buddha has laid down for what? Why has the Buddha laid down these rules? What are they about? Yeah. Respect for the Dhamma. If a bhikkhu teaches somebody who is disrespectfully dressed or behaves in a disrespectful manner, then that bhikkhu himself is being disrespectful towards the Dhamma. Right? And so, that is why the Buddha laid down these rules. And then we look at these rules, it doesn't mention shorts, because they didn't have shorts in the Buddha's time. But we can understand that proper respectful attire is important. It reflects your faith. And you don't need a bhikkhu to explain that to you. Right? There's a sign out there, it's been there for more than a year. And it says, out of respect for the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, please do not dress like this. Yes, because there was, the bhikkhus usually don't say anything, but sometimes in a rare situation, I will say something, but I look at the person and try to work out, will he get angry or will he respond in a good way? And so I was once invited for a house dana in Penang. And then there was a gentleman who was maybe in his 50s, and I thought, he doesn't look as if he's very proud, so I'll try to say something to him, because he was wearing shorts. So he offered food, and I said, are you going to play football today? And he said, no. Well, then why are you wearing shorts? And he said, oh, it's easy. Easier. I said, well, it's much easier. No clothes at all. Right? To be completely naked like the people in the Kalahari desert. Right? Very much easier. Then he said, Bhante, I will never wear shorts again when I give dana. Right? So he understood. He just needed a little reminder. And that brings me... a way to understand this is also the bhikkhus. When they dress properly. They don't just throw their robes any old way, because that's not allowed by the Buddha. Why? Out of respect for the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Out of respect also for the lay people. When the bhikkhu pays respect to the Buddha Rupa, or the bhikkhu pays respect to a senior monk, he arranges his robe over his left arm. Right? He makes special effort to be respectful. And when he covers his left arm with his robe, no air comes in and becomes very hot. When he's listening to the Patimokkha, maybe it takes an hour and a half in the admonition, maybe it takes 2 hours altogether. It's very hot, but he wears his robe like that. Why? Out of respect for the Pali which is being recited, out of respect for the Sangha. And so even though it's hot and uncomfortable, he wears it like that. When the bhikkhu goes into town, what does he do? You think that's comfortable? It's very uncomfortable. In the hot season it's extremely uncomfortable. But the bhikkhu does it anyway. Why? Yes, out of respect for the Buddha, because the Buddha said he must. Out of respect for the laity, because they must see something presentable. And when one comes to the monastery badly dressed and badly behaved, that is not kusala. Right? So for example, people sit here, right? Not only they sit there here in front of the Buddha Rupa. The Buddha represents the Buddha. The Buddha Rupa represents the Buddha. They're wearing shorts, sloppily dressed, playing telephone games in front of the Buddha. Is that respectful? No. So it is good to reflect before one goes. The Muslim, when they go to the mosque on their special days, right? Many Muslims, they go 5 times a day, and when they're working, they wash their hands, they wash their feet, they wash their face, everything. And then very often they're wearing their work clothes, right? But when they go especially to the mosque, right, you can see them very nicely dressed. And then you see somebody and you think, he's going to play sports, or he's going to work in the garden, he's going to the beach. And then he comes up to you and, you're going to the beach. No, I'm going to the monastery. And there's nothing to show that he's going to the monastery. He's just very casually dressed. Because it's not just wearing shorts. It's just this casual, sporty way is also not respectful. You can see in Myanmar, for example, when the people go to give dana, the men usually are wearing a proper white shirt. Very often they're wearing a white jacket. They're wearing a very good quality lungi. They're properly dressed. The women, all properly dressed. You can see here also the women, Myanmarese women, when they come, and they're wearing a nice scarf over. Sometimes they put flowers in their hair. Everything very nice. It's not this sporty, casual barbecue variety. It is respectful attire for the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Right? Then you go to Pa'ao in the village. They have a raw rice dana every year. Each house, a whole family very nicely dressed. Then you come to a big group and you wonder, what's this? They're not from Myanmar. Right? They're dressed in a very strange way, in very stark contrast to all the people who are properly dressed all the Myanmarese Dayakas. So that is a very good thing to think about and to try to change, right? I remember once when I was a layman, I was invited to go to an upasampada, an ordination, and I put on a suit and tie. Why? Why did I do that when I was a layman? Why did I go to an ordination wearing a suit? Respect. Right?
Okay. Next question.
Then, sorry. One of your teachers is Umahinda. This is Umahinda's instructions on the Power of Meditation Center Singapore website. Please read it.
When one enters a monastery, one should dress in an appropriate and dignified manner. One's verbal and bodily actions should reflect one's good upbringing, humility, respect, and courtesy.
Good or no good? Right? This is by Umahinda. His picture is on the notice board, right? He's one of your teachers. Okay. Next question.
Okay. Is it proper for lay devotees to engage in loud conversations in the center or in the presence of the bhikkhus while they are partaking food?
Right. Is it proper for lay people who have given dana to engage in loud conversation, right? Make a lot of noise in the meditation center or in the presence of the bhikkhus when they're eating? Okay. Then we have to ask first, do you want this meditation center to be a place that the Buddha likes, or do you want this meditation to be a place the Buddha doesn't like? Question. Please answer it.
Like.
You want this meditation to be a place the Buddha likes. Okay. Then let's try to see what the Buddha likes. This is what the wanderers say when they see the Buddha and they want to talk to the Buddha. Then they say to each other, please read the Pali and the English. And then this is the Buddha's admonition to Mahamoggallana. Okay, so what does the Buddha like? A lot of talking and noise or silence? Okay, now it's very difficult in a city monastery to get this perception, but one can try to make it the way the Buddha likes it, rather than make it the way one likes it oneself. So, is it proper for lay devotees to engage in loud conversations? Yes or no? People come here to give dana very often. They go and buy the food, they have a kusala mind. They prepare the food, they have a kusala mind. They bring the food, they have a kusala mind. They offer the food, they have a kusala mind. In front of the Buddha, they do vandana, they have a kusala mind. They take the precepts, they have a kusala mind. They share merit with the departed, they have a kusala mind. And then they sit down and start talking about their family, about their business, about all sorts of things. Do they have a kusala mind? No. So, the dana is associated with akusala. And it becomes an inferior dana. Then we have whether they should talk in the presence of the bhikkhus, same thing. Why? Please read this. Okay, this is a Sekya rule laid down by the Buddha for bhikkhus. So, the bhikkhu sits down, he receives his food, and then he's supposed to eat with perception of the bowl. Then a layperson, this happens every day. A layperson begins to talk with the bhikkhu. Now, what is the bhikkhu going to say? Is he going to say, no, shut up, I'm eating? Can the bhikkhu say like that? No, that's not good because we are not policemen, we don't want to fight with anybody. So what does a bhikkhu do? He responds. Because he doesn't want to cause offense. And then it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. So, what should the layperson do? Keep the conversation, yes, have the conversation at an appropriate time. When the bhikkhus are eating is not the appropriate time to talk. Right? Then you have, again, bhikkhus have different characters. Some bhikkhus are very friendly. Some bhikkhus are very desirous that the lay people should be happy and comfortable. And so they will engage in more conversation than other bhikkhus. And that is why it's a very big problem for bhikkhus to be in a city monastery. The Buddha doesn't like bhikkhus to be in city monasteries because of this, always there's people talking and everything, and then, right, you can't fight with people, you can't, right, they're providing you with requisites, they're offering food, all sorts of things, you can't begin to fight with them. And so you have to eat without perception of the bowl and have perception of all sorts of garbage, right? What's going on in Myanmar and what's going on here, what's going on there while you're eating. And it's not a good situation. People should just offer the food. If they want to sit in front of the Buddha Rupa, they meditate, fine. If they want to sit in front of the Buddha Rupa and study, maybe, fine. If they want to sit and chat, they go elsewhere, right? And talk. It's completely improper to sit and talk while the bhikkhus are eating. So please, now you have listened to the Dhamma, you have asked questions, maybe you will become very clever in this life and in future lives, and that merit you can then share with the departed. Please repeat after me. Idam me punyang asavakaya avahang hotu. Idam me punyang asavakaya avahang hotu. Sorry, I did the wrong one because I do this very, very rarely. That was a determination that this merit should help us attain Nibbana. Sharing merit with the departed is idam me ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idam me ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idam me ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. And then by this merit, may we not meet fools in future lives. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satan samagamo hotu Yava Nibbana Patiya Idame Punyang Nibbanasa Pachya Hotu Mama Punya Bhagang Sabba Satanang Bhajemi Te Sabbe Mesamang Punya Bhagang Labantu Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu